طيب بسم الله الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن والاه. اللهم لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم. اللهم علمنا ما ينفعنا وانفعنا بما علمتنا وزدنا علما وأرنا الحق حقا وارزقنا اتباعه وأرنا الباطل باطلا وارزقنا اجتنابه وادخلنا برحمتك في عبادك الصالحين آمين يا رب العالمين. Welcome everybody to I guess day 3 of our halaqah series, the Fiqh of Taharah. And alhamdulillah, we covered a good amount of last time we stopped on the sunan of the body and we were about to start wudu. But before we start wudu, let's do some review inshallah. Okay, I told you guys you got to review. Anybody here actually review? Be honest. Be honest. Okay, so we need to put some effort inshallah. At least make the intention to review. Tamam. And inshallah next week you'll be reviewing. Because here's the thing, we mentioned this before, and we are all guilty of that, including myself. If we don't review, يعني you're how do I say this? You're not you're minimizing the benefit that you can get out of these halaqas. طبعا alhamdulillah, from the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that just by coming here you get a lot of benefit. Your sins are turned into good deeds. You're fulfilling your obligation of learning about what's wajib for you and so on. But if you want to really maximize knowledge retention, you have to review. يعني FYI, Bukhari rahimahullah had to review. People think he was born, but he mentions how he had to review himself. But what about us, who have so many other reasons to forget? We always have to do muraja'ah. Not the most exciting thing, but if the lesson was 1 hour, 10 or 15 minutes of muraja'ah, if you had notes, would be sufficient. And that would maybe multiply the retention by 3. Subhanallah, look at the small. So you invested 1 hour and you got maybe 10% retention, and then the second time you actually go over it in 15 minutes because you've already understood most of it, right? You're almost tripling your retention. Maybe the numbers are higher, Allah alam, but it's the same thing with your school and stuff. Those of you who went to university and stuff, you understand what I'm talking about. Right. So we talked about al-aniya last time, utensils and stuff. So quick question just to check our knowledge. Are we allowed to eat with a silver spoon? You got a silver spoon, 100% silver. Are we allowed to eat with it? No, right? Because we said we're not allowed to eat with gold and silver utensils. And we said that in the madhab, whatever you can't use, you cannot hold or hoard in your home. Like, the second question, we started talking about the lavatory and using the bathroom and the washroom. And we talked about 2 words in Arabic, al-istinja wal-istijmar. What's the difference between them? Yeah, tfadl. No, everybody. Everybody not allowed to use. Yeah. Wearing silver?
Yeah, women can wear gold and silver.
Yeah. We're not talking about wearing here. So, like, women would be allowed to wear gold.
Yeah.
But they would, and that's why they say, in some instances, for the Hanbali madhab, it's okay to hold some things in the house if it's permissible for someone to use it. So we said the gold ring. Are you allowed? So okay, gold. A gold ring, are you allowed to keep it in your house according to the madhab? For a man, if you're a single man, no. If you're married, there's a woman in the house, so it's permissible for her to wear the gold ring, but not for you, so it's okay to hold it. Tamam? But for eating gold and silver utensils, no, you're not allowed to. Okay, you're not allowed to have a gold cup, silver cup, etc. We said except if one of them is broken, you can fix it with some silver, like to kind of put it together. Tamam? That's all. طيب, istinja, istijmar, what's the difference? Al-istinja wal-istijmar. How can you tell us? Okay, and we said also istinja can be specific to? No, istinja we said can be specific to, tfaddal? Water, yeah. So we said istinja can mean the general cleaning of the private parts. When you get to specifics, when you talk about istijmar, istinja using the water, and istijmar is using rocks or anything like that, like tissue paper and stuff. What did we say is the best way to clean yourself after using the bathroom? What's the best way? Because you can either use istinja, water, or you can do istijmar, rocks or tissue, whatever. Okay, or both of them. What's the best way? Both of them, right? Both of them. And if you had to choose one of them, the clean water would be the best. Awesome. Ahsantum. And if you just use rocks, it's fine. You've purified yourself as long as you remove the major najasa. Also, what was the ruling on circumcision? Al-khitan. So you just had a child. Okay, what's the ruling here? Huh?
7 weeks, 7 days.
Okay, what's the ruling? The ruling, when we say what's the hukm in fiqh, we say what's the hukm, what's the ruling? You have to tell me. Obligatory, it's haram, it's mubah. تفضل Ibrahim. Yeah, so ahsanti Ibrahim, mashallah. See Ibrahim, see, that's what happens when you study. So it's obligatory, we said, before puberty. Tamam. Now, usually most people don't wait until puberty, right? So they do it early. We said we wait 7 days, so it's not copying the Yahud, but it's fine if you do it at that time. That's fine. Another thing we said, it's pretty much agreed upon. It's wajib for the male, tamam, from the Sunan or Sha'air al-Islam, right? And we know that Ibrahim alayhi salam, he was commanded to do it at an old age, which shows you the test. One of the great tests of Ibrahim, okay, is that he had to do it at an old age, right? And that's the more difficult, right? People ask about reverts. What do you guys think? Someone, just accepted Islam, because you hear horror stories like where they're forced to do it and they're like, I don't want to become Muslim. Alas, change my mind. But what do you guys think? A revert. It's a good question. A revert. Someone just accepted Islam. Does he have to? What do you think?
Maybe if it's going to push him off the thing, then just tell him to chill out and like eat some sugar a little bit. And then once he gets onto things pretty solid, bring up the conversation. And you should encourage them to do so.
So for sure, don't so definitely don't if someone accepts Islam, okay, you definitely don't want to be like, okay, khalas, we're booking an appointment for you tomorrow, and then we'll teach you wudu and salah, right? You don't want to do that. طبعا the ulama mentioned that this is wajib on the male, as long as there's no darar, there's no harm, but that's not the first thing you want to take care of, right? Why is this important? Because remember, when the Sharia came down, is that what came down first? It's not, right? When the Sharia came down, did the hukum of alcohol come down right away? No. And so there's a hikmah here, there's a wisdom, that when it comes to tashri', there's things that are obligatory, and there are things that can come later, depending on the situation of a person, and etc. Right? طيب, Jamil. And we said about the female circumcision. What did we say? So the female circumcision, we said we have to make sure we're not confusing between female circumcision, the Shar'i one, the Islamic, even the Christian and the Jews that they do it, and the one that's done in Africa and other regions, where they actually mutilate it and they remove it all, and there's literally like, it's harmful for the woman. And we said that a large group of the ulama, they actually said it's recommended for the woman. It's not wajib like the male. طيب. جميل جدا. Let's start. Bismillah. So now we go into bab al-wudu, and we talk about, and which is ablution, right? Ablution, wudu. So just something important to understand when it comes to fiqh. We talked about the ahkam, right? When we say hukum, the ruling. We said how many rulings are there? 5, right? Right? We said how many ahkam are there? 5. طيب. Those are the 5 types of ahkam, which would be translated as al-ahkam ahkam al-taklif, right? And then we have other ahkam, which are al-ahkam al-wad'iyya. These are ahkam that, for example, like something that is a pillar, something that is a condition, something that is a rukun, right? A pillar. Something important to understand here. What is the difference between مثلا a shart and a rukun? This is important because when we talked about, we say, okay, what are the shurut of wudu? What are the arkan of wudu? What are the shurut of salah? Okay, each one, some of them are kind of synonymous, and the different madhahib use them synonymously, and some of them are different. So when we talk about, when I say condition, that's a shart. Okay, you need it to do something else. So conditions are just like pillars, arkan. In a sense, how are they similar? We have a rukun and we have a shart. How are they similar? They're similar in a sense that if you don't do them, if you leave them out, is your act of worship accepted? No, it's not accepted. So if you leave a rukun, okay, and sometimes they call it a fard, right? Rukun arkan, the plural, fard furud. If you leave a shart or a rukun out, then your salah is not accepted. What's an example? What's an example? So in Salah, for example, a rukun is al-Fatiha, right? Takbirat al-Ihram. If you leave that out, it's not valid, right? Even if you forget, or even out of ignorance. This is important because we're going to see later that the wajib, that's what makes it a bit different. Tamam? So abandoning it makes the action void. It doesn't count, okay? But here's the difference between a shart and a rukun or a fard, okay? Pillars take place inside of the action while conditions take place outside of it. What does that mean? A pillar is inside the ibadah. Like a rukun. We said, مثلا, al-Fatiha is a rukun, right? It's done inside the salah. Allahu Akbar, you started the salah, so rukun takes place inside the salah, okay? So when we say arkan al-wudu, it's something that happens in the salah, okay? Whereas a shart is something before, okay? It's something that happens before, okay? Yani outside of it. That's the first difference. And then they say that pillars do not continue while conditions continue. What does that mean? A pillar, you read the Fatiha, you don't keep reading the Fatiha throughout the whole salah. So it happens once, it's not continuous. But a shart, okay, what's a shart, for example? That you're facing the Qibla. Yani when you pray, you face the Qibla. If all of a sudden you turn, can you do that? You can't, right? So it has to be throughout the whole ibadah. Does that make sense? So again, we said that a shart or condition and a rukn or a fard are the same in that if you leave them out, okay, whether out of ignorance or forgetfulness, your action is void. It doesn't count. You have to redo it. Tamam? Okay. And then we said that pillars, okay, take place inside and shurut take place outside. And we said that pillars, okay, don't have to continue throughout the whole act, but shurut have to. Okay? Shurut have to. They continue throughout the whole act, just like مثلا facing the qibla. That's when it comes to conditions. But what about the difference between a rukun, which was, we were comparing it now here, a rukun and a wajib. A rukun and a wajib. So the difference, the main rukun is that if it's missed, then it invalidates the action even if done out of forgetfulness. So we said that a rukun and a fard, just like a shart, if you forget it, if you leave it, okay, khalas, it doesn't count. Your salah doesn't count. So if you say Allahu Akbar, wal asr, innal insan lafi khusr, okay, Allahu Akbar, okay, and then you're like, oh my God, I didn't do Fatiha. Now you have to redo that rak'ah. You have to redo that rak'ah. Tamam? So even if you forgot, even if like tomorrow, like you're like, oh man, yesterday I just prayed with asr, and someone says to you, well, bro, it doesn't count. You have to do Fatiha. You're like, I didn't know. It doesn't matter. If you didn't know, it's still, because it's wajib for you to know the asla. Tamam? But when it comes to a wajib, if missed, okay, then it invalidates the action unless if it's out of forgetfulness or ignorance. So you might say, what's the other scenario? If it's out of forgetfulness or ignorance, then it's okay. What's the other scenario? That's intentional, yeah? So someone intentionally is praying and he's like, I'm not going to do the wajib. And that person will be sinful as well. And it will invalidate his act. Does that make sense? Tamam? This is some usul al-fiqh. Where I told you guys, you need sometimes to know some usul fiqh to understand the books of fiqh in itself. Yeah.
So say you forgot about it on your second rak'ah, for example, you're praying asr. So would you just make up an extra rak'ah after such a separate at the end of it and then you're good to go? Or what would you do in that situation?
You would, no. If you remembered in the salah, you continue another rak'ah. Okay, and then you pray sahu. Yeah, and you do 5, but you only did 4 because anyone without a Fatiha, it doesn't count. So like a rak'ah is a whole unit, right? And so if you forget the Fatiha, that rak'ah is void. And so if in the third one, mathalan, you remember that the first one you didn't do, then you do you're in Dhuhr, for example. And the third one, you remember that the first one you didn't do it, then you do the fourth one and you do a fifth one. So it's actually 4. And then you do sahu for forgetfulness. Yeah. طيب. Jamil, cool? Everybody understand this? طيب. Okay. So let's go to the obligatory actions of wudu. طبعا wudu. What is wudu? Basically they say wudu, basic definition, washing with tahur water. Remember, tahur is pure and purifying. Tahur is pure and purifying. Yani washing with tahur water 4 body parts. What are the 4 body parts? You have al-wajh, okay, wal-yadayn, wal-ra's, okay, wal-rijlayn. You have the face, the hands, the head, and the feet. Where do we get this from? From the ayah. Okay. إذا قمتم إلى الصلاة يا أيها الذين آمنوا in Surah المائدة إذا قمتم للصلاة فاغسلوا وجوهكم head or face. Okay. وأيديكم إلى المرافق وامسحوا برؤوسكم وأرجلكم إلى الكعبين. Okay. Those are the 4 body parts. تمام. Right. And so this is the minimum. This is the and we'll see inshallah what's the minimum, what's sunnah. طيب. So the furud or the arkan of wudu. What's the fard and a rukun again? Someone remind me. If I forget it, okay, khalas, you have to redo it. Okay, طيب. You have to redo it, even if it's out of forgetfulness or jahl. طيب. So we have from furud or arkan of wudu, we have washing the face, including gargling the mouth and inhaling the water into the nose. Tamam. Here we're saying 1 time. So washing the face, okay, and gargling the mouth, okay, washing the mouth, and inhaling the water into the nose. طبعا we have يعني in the madhab it's preferred that you do it separate. In other madhab you can do together. Okay, and so you can either do them together, the mouth and then the nose, tamam, or you could do 3 mouth. طبعا here we're saying the minimum. So the minimum is actually 1. Okay, some people use this in the wrong way, where they're like, oh, you know what, I'm just going to do it 1 from now on. The sunnah, the full way is to do it 3 times, and that's in the hadith of Uthman. But I'm saying the minimum. Why is this important? Why is it important to know the minimum? If you just have limited water, or you're in a rush, or it's like you're still in a rush, but it's like, oh my God, there's 2 minutes left. I need to get in the first rak'ah, or else it's gonna count as out of the time, right? And you know something happened, and you kind of, or you forgot about salah, and there's like 3 minutes. Well, if you're gonna do the 3 times, khalas, you're gonna miss the salah. What's more obligatory here is to pray on time with tahara, obviously. So you're gonna do the 1 time. So wash, right, quickly, 1 time, as long as you get the 4 body parts that we talked about. So washing the face, including gargling the mouth and inhaling into the nose. And subhanAllah, like a lot of people don't like to do it, or they don't do this right when you actually put the water into the nasal cavity, and then right. And this has a lot of benefits, like so many benefits. If you talk to like medical doctors, especially here in Canada and in Calgary, especially the dry weather, you know, a lot of people have sinus issues, coughing issues, you know, and then they buy these like what do they call those? Yeah, nasal sprays and stuff. If you just do this 5 times a day, like you actually let the water go in. I know it's a bit uncomfortable, and then you let it out. You're clearing all that, because a lot of it gets stuck here, and then you get infection, and then you're having a fever and all that stuff. And basically, you can clear it out just by doing that. طيب. So that's number 1. Number 2, washing the 2 hands. Okay, washing the 2 hands, and that's up to the elbows, because Allah says, إلى المرافق. Al-mirfaq is here. This is mirfaq. So I'm gonna wash, right? And we want to make sure that when we wash, طبعا there's a lot of great videos on YouTube. You can look at them. But when you wash, you want to make sure, طبعا you start from here, is included, right? And you want to go all the way to here. We have a hadith of Abu Hurairah that mentions he would go more. Why? Just to make sure. Common mistakes is what? People are done wudu and this is dry. When we say ila, it includes. So it says ila al-marafiq, yani you got to make sure that this is also wet, inshallah, right? This is also wet, tamam, and you go around the whole area. So that's number 2. We said the face. We'll talk about actually that's one of the conditions. Washing the 2 feet, okay? So washing the 2 feet, including up to the ankles. Up to the ankles, yani that's the area that you have to wash. So your feet, including the ankles. What's the common mistake here? Huh? There's something more common, and there's a hadith about it. In the back, like you know where the heel is, the back of it where your Achilles tendon is. A lot of people just don't reach that area. They're very lazy about it, right? But so you have to be careful. You have to be careful, because if it's done, this is a rukun or wajib or fard, right? So if it's done out of ignorance, right, or done out of laziness, forgetfulness, right, your wudu could be invalid, right? So you have to be very careful. That's why the ulama, they're very careful about this, because this is a rukun, right? And so you want to make sure that you actually cover it. You actually cover it. we see people, they're too lazy to. طبعا I'm not talking about someone who has an excuse, and someone who has an excuse. Like we have sinks now, right? In your house. طيب, you have a sink in your house. Some people can't stretch that far, right? You guys agree? They're old, or maybe they're overweight or something. But what do? Some people will say, "We'll just grab water and just kind of like," and then خلاص. They're like, "I did wudu." Does that count? Does that count as wudu? You just take water and you go like this? No, because we're going to talk about it, the water has to run, and there's no way you because this is not masih. This is called masih, right? It's called masih, and so you need to make sure that your foot goes there and water is running, and you get all the areas. But if someone cannot do that, then they should find another solution. Either they have a small tub on the bottom, or they use the bathtub or something else, or tamam, or I don't know, they get like a wudu station in their house. Whatever is easy. The Sharia is not gonna get you to do something that you're not able to do, but you want to find yourself a solution. If that's something, you might have something on the bottom with water, and then you put your foot into it, wash it, وخلاص, tamam. But you need to make sure that you're washing the 2 feet up to the ankles, and the Achilles tendons. That area is also covered. The heel. Naam. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Both of them will be valid. Both of them will be valid, inshallah. طيب. Wiping the whole head with the ears. So wiping the whole head, right? So you get the water and you wipe, right? And the ears. Tamam? And you wipe it with the ears. Why the ears? The madhab includes this in the head. Includes this with the ra's. They say the ears is part of the ra's, wiping, right? You don't have to soak it. It's not like you have to soak your head. It's just wiping. It's fine. Okay? Because Allah says, وَامْسَحُوا بِرُؤُوسِكُمْ بِرُؤُوسِكُمْ. Tamam? طيب. The letter ba بِرُؤُوسِكُمْ. You're asking, what does it mean? It means what? تفضل. Al-ba, this harf jar has a lot of meanings actually. In this ayah, I'm trying to think, I'm not sure 100%. وَامْسَحُوا بِرُؤُوسِكُمْ. إلى probably. It could be. Well, I'm not غير متأكد. والله, I have to look it up. والله, that's a good question though. Inshallah, maybe we will look it up inshallah and bring it up next week. This ayah is very interesting actually, and actually this point of masih, we'll talk about masih soon inshallah, wiping, right? Because the ayah says وَامْسَحُوا بِرُؤُوسِكُمْ. Just kind of like just a benefit in Arabic. Ba is a what? Harf jar. Yeah, for those who studied a little bit of Arabic, if you don't know what that is, don't worry about it. But it makes the letter have a kasra, basically. It makes the ism have a kasra. So bi ru'usi, yeah, ru'usi. Okay, because it could be ru'usa, ru'us. Type. So bi ru'usi. So it makes it majroor. Why is this important? Because this says wamsahu bi ru'usikum wa arjula. If you memorize this ayah, you know it's arju la wa arjulakum, which means that the masah is not. It doesn't count for the feet. Tamam. This is a point in Aqidah as well, because we know that some other sects, they say, oh, we wipe. For wudu, they wipe, right? But for Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah, this is it's very clear. There is a qira'ah actually that includes that, but that will include masah of the socks. We're going to talk about masah of the socks. But the main thing is, and here the fatha, wa arjulakum, yeah, it goes back to اغسلوا, which is something amazing about the Arabic language, is that the object can come later. Like it says إذا قمتم للصلاة فاغسلوا. Okay, it says what? فاغسلوا وجوها. So it has a fatha. Okay, the object has a fatha in Arabic. وجوهكم وأيديكم, right? And then أرجلكم, it's included in that as well, which is something nice or beautiful about the Arabic language. Type. So wiping the whole head with the ears. Number 5 from the arkan is sequence. What does sequence mean? In order. It has to be the right order. So you cannot start with your feet and then go with the right with the head, and then you know what? Okay, you know what? Let me make sure I finish with the hand. No, you have to go in order. Otherwise, okay, it's and that's why if you do it out of forgetfulness, right, and you forgot, you can't be like, I forgot the face. You finish the feet, now you're like, whoosh. No, you can't, right? You have to restart your wudu. So this is very important. You have to do it in order. And they say, where did we get this from? Where did we get this from? Huh? The Quran, the ayah says, the ayah says the order. And they say Allah doesn't put the order for no reason, right? Allah didn't put the order like that for no reason. And the Sunnah as well. Now, the Sunnah mentioned that as well. فالسنة تؤكد الآية. And the last fard or rukun is like al-muwala. What does that mean? They say you cannot, it has to have continuity. You cannot like start, you start, you wash your feet, and then your mom's like, hey, Abdullah, okay, mom, and then you go help your mom, and you come back, okay, where was I? Okay, I finished this. No, can you do that? Technically, no. And they say, how do you know the period? Like, is there like an hour or time? The Hanabila, they say the previous body part should not become dry when you're washing the next body part. So that's how you know. Okay, so if it's something very quick, you scratch, you remove something, you're like, oh, I didn't flush, you flush, whatever. Okay, it should be fine. Okay, but if you're gonna go have a cup of tea and then finish your wudu after, okay, that's not acceptable. Tamam. Most likely the water would have ran down, especially in this hot weather. It would have been dry. Tamam. This is interesting to know because in ghusl, it's not a condition. So in ghusl, technically, you could do half your body, come back and do the other half. So this is interesting to know. Cool. Yeah, so those are the 6. Everybody just review them quickly. So washing the face, okay, washing the 2 hands, washing the 2 feet, wiping the whole head and ears. So those are the 4 body parts we talked about. Add the order and add that it has to be done together. There's no like break or pause in between. Well, so those are the 6 pillars. Pillar meaning if it falls, the whole building falls. And I saw a question, yeah. Sorry? Istinja? لا, al-istinja is done before. Yeah, al-istinja, cleaning yourself, that's done before, right? It's not included as part of wudu. تمام? طيب, good question. تعال تفضل.
So say for example you went over your head, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you wash your right hand, and as soon as you get like say up there, you're like, oh man, I forgot to do my ears. You have to do like all the way
No, just redo your head with your ears. Like redo your head with the ears because you're still in order, and then you continue, inshallah. That should be fine. And I'm sure there's like some difference in opinion there, but I think that should be fine, bismillah. Allah ta'ala. Okay, those are the 6. طيب. So then the author, he says, وَنِيَّةُ شَرْط. Remember the shurut. We said shurut are similar to arkan, but the only thing about shurut, they happen before the actual ibadah, and they have to continue throughout. Okay? But they say an-niyya is a shart. Some other madhab, they say it's a rukun, okay, depending on how you look at it. But the Hanabila, they say that the intention is a shart. وَإِنَّمَا الْأَعْمَالُ بِالنِّيَّاتِ. Right? And so it's a shart meaning that if you don't have niyyah, it doesn't count as wudu. So you have to have the actual niyyah. Okay? So, if you just go to the bathroom and you do everything you need to do, and you're just thinking about your exam and you didn't make the niyyah, you're like, okay, it wouldn't count as wudu. You have to have the niyyah. You have to have the niyyah. تفضل نعم. طبعا الأصل is that the niyyah is something من أعمال القلب. You do it in your heart. بعض العلماء like الشافعي and others, they said that you can do it verbally because it helps. تمام. But the only like ibadah that I can remember right now that you have to do it by mouth is niyyatul hajj wal umrah. Yeah, ahsant. Right? When you did umrah and hajj, you have to say labbaik Allahumma hajj, labbaik Allahumma umrah, right? You have to say it verbally. It is mentioned, the Prophet ﷺ, you said that. And so Shafi'i and others, they did qiyas, they did analogy on that, and they said because it helps. So you see people, مثلا, when they want to pray, nawaitu an usalli, so that's the madhab al-Shafi'i, they do that, and it should be fine, inshallah. Like an intention, it has to be at least in the heart. تمام. فينوي, and they say that intention is a condition for every shar'i tahara. So what are we talking about? Like ghusl, right? We're going to talk about ghusl, wudu, tayammum. So you need a niyyah for that. Question: do you need a niyyah for removing a najasa or istinja or something like that? Is there niyyah? No, no, right? You don't need a niyyah, because remember we said tahara is raf' al-hadath, removing or the spiritual impurity, and zawal al-khabath, removing the actual physical impurities. Tamam? And so they say at-turuk, they don't need niyyah. At-turuk, things that you just they're not really actions, they're things that you kind of get rid of. They don't need a niyyah. So zawal so they say except for, okay, removing a physical impurity, they have three things here. So number one, removing a physical impurity. You have something najis or something. Do you need a niyyah? No. So if like a non-Muslim came and like removed it for you, or somebody else came and removed it for you, it's fine. You don't need a niyyah for it. Tamam? طيب. And they say the other exception, right, that you don't need a niyyah, they say a wife from the people of the book doing ghusl to make intimacy halal. What does that mean? Obviously, for the woman who's going through the monthly cycle, she has to make ghusl, right? She has to make ghusl. We'll talk about that, right? She has to make ghusl. But if you're married to someone from the people of the book, like a Jewish woman or a Christian woman, tamam, do they have to make niyyah for their ghusl? For you to be intimate with them? No, right? Because aslan their niyyah doesn't count, because they're not Muslim, right? So this is an exception for the rule, where they don't have to make a niyyah, but they have to do ghusl. Okay, so if you have a wife that is Christian or Jewish, she still has to do ghusl after her monthly cycle, okay, but she doesn't need a niyyah. She doesn't need a niyyah. طيب. Yeah, even if she did, it wouldn't count because she is not a Muslim. طيب. The third exception, okay, which is interesting, they say a Muslim wife who is stubborn. ايش يعني? The translation maybe is not the best, but a Muslim wife يعني المانعة يعني she's like reluctant to يعني do the ghusl for her husband. تمام? Some of the books they say interesting things like you throw water at her and then right, because it's the right of the man. But here it says like, so even if she doesn't want to, and the husband tells her you need to do ghusl, and she does it and like she doesn't do intention, then here the madhab they said it's okay. Tamam? So it says even a Muslim's woman's wife just finished her menses, she has to make ghusl before they can be intimate with intention, but she does not want to, but he pressures her to make ghusl, which she does, but without intention. So he can still be intimate with her in this case. But can she pray? Huh? Can she pray? Okay. So right, طبعا he cannot. Why? So the husband can kind of, I don't want to say the word force, but like push her to do ghusl. But can you force someone to do intention? You can't, because it's min a'mal qalb, right? It's not like an on-off button, niyyah on, niyyah off. So they say that, okay? But they say, however, after this type of ghusl, she cannot pray with it. So if if she's like, I don't want to do ghusl, and he's like, no, you have to do ghusl, and then she's like, and then she does ghusl. There's no intention. This is red, by the way. Batteries, but this is red. But and then she's like, okay, wait, before we actually do the, we're intimate, I need to pray asr. I just remembered. Okay, can she do asr? No, because she never made the actual intention for. It just allows the man to be intimate with her. Okay, but she still has to do a proper ghusl with niyyah, because al-ghusl needs niyyah as well. Barakallahu feek. طيب, Bismillah. Now we go to التسمية. Bismillah. Okay. So, do I have to say Bismillah before I make wudu? What do you guys think? So the author, he says that التسمية wajib. Tasmiyah is wajib. What is this? It's important to know wajib, rukun. What's the implication here, wajib? I have to do it, but if you forget or you do it out of ignorance, you don't do it out of ignorance, then it still counts. Alhamdulillah. When you wanna make wudu and you forgot to say Bismillah. No wait, you made the intention has to be there. But you forgot to say Bismillah, okay? And you do your wudu. Is your wudu valid? It's valid unless you're like, I don't want to say Bismillah intentionally, and you'd be sinful for that. So then your wudu would not count. So tasmiyah is wajib, and it's the only wajib in tahara, by the way. This is unique. It's the only wajib in Tahara. There's other shurut we didn't mention, but yani, just because it's a beginner matan, we're just going to stick with the shart that we mentioned before, which is niyyah. So we have tasmiyah is wajib before wudu, right? Before ghusl. We're going to talk about ghusl. طبعا wudu removes the minor impurity and ghusl removes the major impurity. We have minor and major, right? Impurity. And then we have, you need tasmiyah for tayammum as well, right? And then there's a interesting, and this comes because of the hadith. There's a hadith, the Prophet ﷺ says that when one of you wakes up from like a long sleep, right? That makes you lose your wudu, then you should wash your hands before you make wudu. You should wash your hands before you make wudu, because he said you don't know where your hands were. You don't know where your hands were. I'm yani paraphrasing the hadith. Tamam. So they say number 4, washing the hands after waking up from night sleep, the type which invalidates your wudu. So a person is required to wash them 3 times in the madhab after night sleep. So if you have a long night, when you wake up in the morning, this is, you can look up the hadith, it's straight from the hadith, you should wash it 3 times. You should wash it 3 times. Back in the day, they would have an actual container, and so they say you shouldn't actually mix it with that water. You shouldn't actually mix it with water. You should have another container and remove the najasa, because the hadith is saying that there could have been najasa on your hand. So you want to get rid of the najasa. Okay, you don't know where your hands might have ended up, because when you might be saying, well, what do you mean? What do people do when they sleep? You'd be surprised what people do when they sleep, where their hands end up. You don't know, right? People sleepwalk, yeah, and other weird things. So it says, it has to be deep sleep at night. If during the day, then it does not require washing hands 3 times. So if it's during the day, they say, they take the literal meaning. It has to be during the night. Others, they took the actual illah, or the reason, which is having a long sleep. But the madhab said that it has to be, as long as it's during the night, you have to do it. Tamam? So quickly, tasmiyah is done for wudu, ghusl, tayammum, and also for the person who wakes up to wash his hands 3 times before making wudu. طيب, Jamil. And we said, right, if the tasmiyah is not recited due to forgetfulness or ignorance, it's okay. Tamam, it's okay. It's still valid. Bi'idhnillah. And we mentioned that in Tahara, tasmiyah is the only wajib. So let's talk about some sunnah. Let's hear some sunnah from you guys. What are some sunnah of wudu? I'm interested. Let's hear from the back. Some sunnah of wudu. What is the sunnah of wudu? There's so many. I think there's like 14 or something, or maybe less. What are some of the sunnahs of wudu? No sunnahs of wudu? We mentioned what you have to do. Think of the other things that we didn't mention. Tfaddal. Okay, we said madmada, you have to do it once. We have to do madmada, that's included in the face. 3 times. Naam, ahsan, to do it 3 times. That is from the sunnah, right? You don't have to do it 3 times. Tfaddal, Salim. Facing the qibla, yes. So facing the qibla, yeah. Facing the qibla, you might say how the ulama, anything that is like a ibadah, they say it's recommended that you face the qibla. It's recommended that you face the qibla. Naam. Istinshaq, naam, going deep, and into the nasal and then taking it out. What else? Huh? We said the sequence is wajib. You have to. It's a rukun. Not wajib. It's a rukun. Rukun fard. You cannot mess up the sequence. Let's see. It's interesting that so facing the qibla, ahsantum, using the siwak from the sunan, right? And they include it in wudu, right? Before you do the wudu, you can do it before or during. Beginning by washing the hands, right? And we said especially the one who wakes up from a night. So you should start with washing the hands, right? It's always good to start with washing the hands, remove any if there's any najasa or any khabath, right? And we're not talking about the guy who wakes up from the night. The guy who wakes up from the night, it's wajib for him. The guy who wakes up from the deep sleep. So now when you go to sleep tonight in the morning, make sure you wash your hands. This is something obligatory. But from the sunnah of normal wudu, now if you want to go make wudu, it's to start with the hands. Tamam? So it's not the same as the guy who's waking up from a long night's sleep. طيب. Gargling the mouth and then inhaling the water into the nose to rinse it. Okay? And exaggerating them for someone who's not fasting. Exaggerating and making sure that you clean it properly. And there's a hikmah, we said there's a hikmah because there's a lot of infections that come from here. But if you're fasting, you want to take it easy because water can go down and doing takhleel. So, okay, so let's talk about the beard. The beard is interesting because the beard, we have two kind of beards. They say, اللحية المكثفة يعني it's a big beard. How can you tell the difference between a big beard and like a short beard? They say if you can see the bashara, if you can see the skin. If you can see the skin, you would call it a light beard, and if you can't see the skin, then it would be considered like a heavy beard, like a big beard. And so at-takhleel is to like kind of going through, right? Going through, like looking who has the longest beard here. I had a friend in college, in university. Yani my best friend, he's sick. Subhanallah, may Allah give him shifa. His beard like would go up to here. So we used to like make wudu and he'd always just go through the whole thing, like, because it's a long beard, right? It's a long beard, so we'd have to do takhleel. So takhleel through thick hair, beard, fingers and toes. What takhleel is to go through things. So it's a sunnah to go to takhleel through the beard, fingers, okay, the sunnah, right, and the toes. It's extra cleanliness, tamam. No, al-ra's is just wiping, right? We don't have anything that talks about. If you do it, I mean, there's no harm in that. So thick hair is when it hides and covers the skin. We said that, and it's still required to wash the beard from outside. Okay, so you do takhleel, but you still have to wash the outside, the actual beard. Tamam. But if it's light beard, then you wash both outside and inside. Doing takhleel alone will not suffice. Tamam. So if it's a light beard, you still have to, wash from the inside. So you put the water and you wash it from the inside as well, because it has to reach your face. Al-wajh, right? Because al-wajh is conditional here. Like if it's a big beard, you can just kind of wash from the outside, tamam. And the takhleel would be sunnah. The takhleel would be sunnah, and doing it 2-3 times, ahsant, right? 2 or 3 times. And we have narrations with the Prophet ﷺ would do it once. We have narrations with the Prophet ﷺ would do it once, tamam. Not including the head and the ears, so those are done once. Dislike to do more than 3. Yeah, that's a question I always had from my teachers. Like, are you allowed to do more than 3? Like, let's say, for example, can you guys think of a situation why you would need to do more than 3? You're not sure? Okay, and? Yeah, so, exactly, but what my teacher would say is, my issue was always like the nose. The nose, especially like in winter, if you're like sick and whatever, sometimes it takes like 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So he said, well, you do it before. Like do it if you know that you have some dirt or something or whatever, okay? Or مثلا you have gel on your hair or something and you want to wash it first, whatever it is, do it first and then do your actual wudu, right? Because ulama mentioned there's karaha for doing more than 3. طبعا the reason for this is why. Why do you think they say it's makruh to do more than 3? If you do it intentionally, مخالف السنة. But if you do it, like here someone is doing it, if you believe 4 is more righteous, that would be like a bid'ah innovation. But the main reason is just because it's dislike to waste water, right? So the Sharia discourages the waste of water. I thought I had him here mentioned, but it's disliked and also because the sunnah is 3. The sunnah is to do 3, and we don't have any narrations that have more than that. Tamam? If someone does 4 or 5, does it invalidate the wudu? No. It's disliked. It's makruh. We said makruh is what? If you do it, you're not sinful, and if you leave it intentionally, you get rewarded for it. So if you intentionally, right, and that's why you do it before, and you intentionally do it before so you can stick with the sunnah, okay, and stay away from makruh, then you get rewarded for that. Extra reward for that. Tamam? طيب? Okay, good. Sunan after wudu. What are some sunnah after wudu? There's not many. Like when you guys finish wudu, think of sometimes we do it robotically and we don't think. When you finish wudu, what do you do? Do we do istighfar right after wudu? Maybe you can do istighfar anytime, but after wudu, تفضل. لا وحده لا الملك. Okay, good. That dua, لا إلا الله وحده لا شريك له, right? له الملك والحمد وهو على كل شيء قدير. And then we say what? Another. اللهم اجعلني من التوابين واجعلني من المتطهرين. Right? Or there's different races. اللهم اجعلني من التوابين واجعلني من المتطهرين. The author also mentions looking up. Okay, there's a hadith of that, but it's يعني it's debatable. It's debatable. Yeah, looking to the sky and then reading the dua that has been narrated, which is the ones we mentioned. لا إله إلا الله وحده, and then اللهم اجعلني متوابين واجعلني مطهرين. تمام. So these are from the sunan after. طيب, let's talk about wiping. This is a big topic. Wiping. 20 minutes. Maybe less than that. طيب. تفضل. That's an interesting one. You know what? Do you know why some people say it's sunnah? There's a hadith about the man who comes out and water is dripping from his sah. That's the hadith. You know what's interesting? That hadith, there's ulama that say that hadith لا يثبت. يعني لا يثبت. It's not actually a sahih hadith of Abdullah ibn Amr ibn al-As, I think, and they're sitting with the Prophet ﷺ, and then they see the Prophet says a man will come, you know, a regular man will come, and there's water dripping from him, and he's from the people of Jannah, right? And then Abdullah ibn Amr al-As wants to find out, so he goes to him. He says, you know, one of the rights of the Muslims is what? Is that you can sleep at his house three days, right? So you can go to a Muslim and be like, you know, this is my right, you know. And so he did that, and then why did he do that? He wants to investigate, right? Okay, why is he going to Jannah? What's so special about him? And then the hadith says in the end that what? The guy didn't get up for night prayer. The guy didn't do anything like amazing. He wasn't like going to people's houses and feeding the orphans, these are all great acts of worship. What did he say in the end? He said that, you know, whenever I go to sleep, I don't have any grudges with people. Like I clear my heart. Tamam? And that's very hard to do. Yeah, and the narrator says that. That's why, you know, something very hard to do. Because everybody has beef with people, you know. Inshallah, next week we have a guest speaker talking about internal purification, inshallah. We have a guest speaker, inshallah, is going to come and talk about الطهارة الذاتية النفسية, inshallah. But to answer your question, I'm not sure. I wouldn't say it's I think it's just like in the middle. Wallahu ta'ala. Like it's not a sunnah or it's not. You don't have to wipe, right? And you don't have to leave it. And whatever is convenient, it will be something like it's mubah. Allahu a'lam. Unless there's a specific. But even that one, there's speculation. Like just because the water was dripping from him, does it mean that it's a sunnah? No, right? Does it mean it's a sunnah? It just, if the Prophet ﷺ didn't say why did he do it, then it means it's okay, it's mubah. So for sure we can say it's mubah because the Prophet ﷺ didn't say to not do it, right? So one of the ways we can confirm the Prophet's I guess sunnah or hukum is that he witnesses something and he doesn't talk against it. So we can say that, right? That he's okay with it, so it's mubah. But did he say it's recommended? No. So Allah alam, I'm not sure. طيب. Yeah, there's a hadith about, so يعني, there's a lot of narrations talking about that my ummah will come with glowing, right? From athar al-wudu. And so one of the beautiful things about wudu, should encourage the Muslim to make wudu, is that the more wudu you make, the brighter your faces and your body parts are on the Day of Judgment. Tamam? And we're going to talk about like isbagh. They use the word isbagh, it's coming up. Is to actually, make sure that the water is actually flowing through the body parts. Tamam? Because that's athar wa andaf wa. So, wiping is a big topic. So when we talk about wiping, people think of khuf, socks, okay, but there's actually other items. What are they? We talk about the sock or the khuf or the shoe. Let's put them all in the same category for now. And then we have what? Nobody has a amama? Okay. Maybe I should have wore one today. The amama, right? The turban. Tamam. And then the khimar for the woman. And there's one more. Cast, like a cast. Okay, so those are the four main ones. Okay, so it is allowed to wipe over the following types of items. We have the khuf and what is like it, shoe, sock, tamam. And then we have taban al-khuf is what they used to use that time, which is like a leather kind of material. Some people still use it. The following types of turbans for men. So this is the types that they were in the time of the Prophet ﷺ. They say that one of them is a muhannak, which would go under the hanak. The hanak is here. So it would be like a turban and then it would go like under here. Tamam. So that would be one of them that you can wipe over. And then the other one that it's like goes around and has a tail. Right, you see those ones a lot, right? it goes around and has a tail. The Emiratis do it and other, right? So those would be from the ones. The Hanabila say those are the only ones that they mentioned in the hadith. But wallahu alam, yani any one that's similar to that should be fine to do masih. And then we have the khimar. Khimar, okay, to understand what khimar is what covers the woman's head and it has to go under. So it goes under and it covers the head of the woman. So that is what the khimar is. And so, type question here: if a woman wears a turban, can she wipe over it? The Hanabila say no, because that's not for her. It's for a man. Okay. Yeah, she can only do it on the khimar, and we said that it has to wrap around the neck. So that's what actually involves a khimar. And the fourth is splint or bandage, like like the cast or the bandage, right? Now the first three, I want you to kind of group them together. Why? Because those go back to the timeline. We're going to talk about timeline, right? So when we say about the timeline, when does it end? It's those three that we're talking about. But the timeline for a cast, because we know timeline, we're going to talk about 1 day for the local and 3 days for the traveler. 1 day for the local, 3 days for the traveler that you can actually do the actual wiping. But what about the guy with the bandage? Anybody here broke their hand before? Like, how long?
8 weeks, 9 weeks.
Okay, 9 weeks. So miskeen, you're going to tell him that after 3 days? By the way, I believe the only madhab, the Malikiyya, they don't have a time limit. They actually, and they have some good evidence. It's interesting actually, they have some good evidence that you can actually do more than 3. Some ulama, like Ibn Taymiyyah, they said that to join between both opinions. And that's one of the ways of making an opinion between contradicting opinions. He says that the average is 1 for the local, 3 for the traveler, and if you have a darura, then you can do more. Someone is like doing some intensive traveling or something. Let's say someone is like doing some, 1 month travel on the road to Mecca or something. Maybe he can do it for more than that. طيب, Jameel. And so the bandage is when you remove it. So for the bandage, for the cast, okay, you can keep wiping for 9 months. If it takes 9 months, then you can do it for 9 months. Now, the interesting thing about the cast, the madhab is very technical with this. What does that mean? If you have a break, let's say you break this finger. This goes to medicine too, so I'm not going to talk too much about it. And someone then did a cast on the whole arm. The madhab says that's not allowed, and so you're only allowed to do masah on the broken part, on the area that's broken. Okay? And for the conditions to do masah, there's 2 conditions in the madhab. Number 1 condition is you have to put the cast while you're on tahara. You have to put the cast while you're in the state of tahara. So let's say you break your hand, find a way to make wudu, and then put the cast. Tamam? And they're very strict on that. There is another opinion, a riwayah from Imam Ahmad that it's recommended, it's not a wajib. But you try your best to do that. And then the second condition, so the first condition, you put your cast while you're in the state of tahara. The second condition, they say that it covers only the area that's broken or that needs to be covered. Tamam? طيب. So then they say, well, okay, so what happens if this is broken and then I wrap the whole thing? So they say, well, you remove it. Okay, I can't remove it. It's too much, costs too much money. It might hurt me. Okay, you have an excuse. They say, well, you can only wipe on that finger that's broken, and the other part you do what? Can anybody guess? What else can you do to purify it? Tayammum. Ahsant. Because the other thing is washing. You're not going to wash cast, right? The only other way to purify the rest of it needs to be purified. They said we do tayammum. So it's a bit of a headache. So that's why it's important to make sure that you only cover that part. What if you put your cast without tahara on? What happens? Can you wipe? No, because we said that's a condition. What can you do? Tayammum, ahsant. You do tayammum on that part. You do tayammum on that part. So again, 4 things. Khuf, sock, shoe, turbans, right? Khimars, which are the head covers for the woman, and splint, bandage, cast, tfaddal. Yes? Tayammum is next week. Well, I guess next week is the guest speaker. The week after is Tayammum, inshallah. Mhm. Mhm. Be- Why would you do that again? Mhm. Yes. But the left hand you have to do wudu. Yes. Yes. But you will wipe that finger. Yeah. Because the right of the other hand is wudu. It doesn't have an excuse for wiping. Tamam? Yani the hand that doesn't have a cast, just like any other body part, when you make wudu now, you're gonna wash all the. Yeah. That's what they say. And even for me, and when I read about it, it's interesting. And this is how this is the opinion of the Hanafi. I'm not sure about the other madhahib, but this is how they see it, and that's why it's make sure. So just make sure you have tahara before you put your cast, okay? And that's what the beauty of knowledge is, right? So when you have this ilm, next time something happens, you break your hand or something, you're like, okay, doctor, wait, tahara, put on tahara, and then you just make sure that they do it. And nowadays they'll do it on what you need. Yeah, it's not like they're gonna. They're very conservative with their cast type. Okay, so now we talk about the traveler versus the resident. So muqim, resident, traveler, musafir, right? The musafir is the one that can shorten his salah, etc. So we have. So when does the time begin? So let's say now I wanna, I get up in the morning, and I made wudu, okay, and I put my socks on. For the resident, I have 1 day that I can wipe. So every time I make wudu, instead of putting my foot in the sink, I can wipe. Tamam? When does the time start? When does the clock start ticking? Huh? When you put the sock? Okay, that's one opinion. Yeah? So, yeah, it's written, right? So they say after the first hadath. After the first hadath. The hadath we said when you break your wudu, right? And so if you made wudu, you put your socks on. So you made wudu, you put your socks on. You go through your day. Later in the day you go to the bathroom. Okay. Now this is where the time stops. So you went to the bathroom at 1 p.m. 24 hours start from there. So now you have till 1 p.m. next day. Tamam? For wiping. Wadah? So from the first hadath. Not from the first wudu. Because someone can have a hadath, right? And then just wait. And then, like extend it. This is the opinion of the madhab. There's ikhtilaf with the Shafi'iyya and others. طيب. Then the whole story of the traveler. Who's the traveler? طبعا the Hanabila and the madhahib, they all went with actual distance, physical distance. We have some contemporary fatwa about after going, from outside the city borders, etc. But let's just say that the musafir, the one who travels like this distance, like 160 kilometers. So the musafir gets 3 days, 3 nights. 3 days, 3 nights. And we have to distinguish between the safar and the destination of the safar. Everybody with me here? I'm traveling to BC. Okay? Traveling, so when I get to BC, I'm on the beach. Is that called traveling? Some might call it traveling, but in Shar'an, you're not technically in the process of traveling. You're not in the same mashaqqa of traveling. Now you're chilling, you're good, you're landed, you have your stuff. They distinguish between the actual traveling and when you reach the place. Tamam? So this is when you're allowed to do masih. When you're in the process of traveling. So the musafir, he's traveling 3 days, he can do masih for 3 days. He's traveling 4 days, okay, he can do masih for the 3 days, and the 4th day he has to, right? As long as he doesn't go into janaba, of course. If he doesn't go into major impurity, then he would have to do a ghusl. Naam? One way distance? What does that mean? Well, if you're going to, so if you okay, let's say you go from here to Edmonton, okay. So on your way to Edmonton, you can do masah. But now you've arrived, okay, and now you're traveling back, okay, that would count as another 3. Allah Ta'ala. You're traveling again. And you probably would admit it's a very close place. Yani, I think most people wouldn't have any problem with that. Here's something interesting. He says if he becomes a resident after wiping as a traveler, you're a traveler, then you become a resident. Maybe this is related to your question. So if you're a traveler, then you become resident, what happens? So you made wudu, okay, and now you're a traveler, and then now you become a resident, okay, then khalas, now you go back to being a resident. So same ruling, 1 day. Tamam? So if you've already done 2 days, you can't do the 3rd day when you arrive back, because now you're a resident. Tamam? And that's what he's mentioning here. طيب, the resident, تفضل, نعم. It is Maghrib, sorry, it's Maghrib right now, right? Yes. طيب, if you don't mind, if you guys don't mind, we're just going to do probably 5 more minutes and then we'll do the adhan. تفضل, yeah? For shortening the prayer, the musafir, yes, while he's in the process of traveling. Now, yeah, yes, that's what this is the opinion here of the madhab, and we'll talk about it inshallah when we get to fiqh of salah. But that's what they're talking about. طيب, something interesting here, just so I don't forget, the madhab, they make the one who travels the same as the muqim if he's traveling a sinful travel. Let me just make that clear. So if someone's traveling, you can travel for something mubah, okay, but you can also travel for something haram. What's an example? Yeah, I'm traveling for a party in Edmonton, okay. I don't know if the yeah, someone's going to a party in Edmonton, tamam, or someone from Edmonton is coming to Stampede party, tamam. Not for da'wah, right? For something haram. May Allah protect us. And so they say, well, to punish that person, he only gets the rukhsa. The rukhsa does not count for him. The rukhsa does not count for that person, the concession, yani. And they apply this with all the rukhas. All the rukhas, they don't count for the one who does it for sinful, yeah. So for him, if he's a traveler, he only gets 1 day. He only gets 1 day. Type. Conditions for wiping. Let me just try to finish this, inshallah, and then we'll answer questions. So this is important, guys. So you must have wudu, you must have tahara when you put your socks. This is important. Number 1. طيب. The thing you're wiping on must cover the area. This is important. So the socks that you're wearing, so you guys know now, the socks used to be long, then they got shorter, then they got really short. So now you have those, I don't know what they call them. What do they call them? The ones that are below the ankle? They look funny, but like they're below the ankle, right? You guys have seen them. So they go below. Are you allowed to do masah on those? No, because why? They don't cover the area you're supposed to wash over aslan. When you do wash, you're supposed to wash up to the ankles. They don't cover that. So how can you wipe over the same area? So yani, maximum are those ankle socks. Like I'm wearing ankle socks right now. They go up to the just ankle and above a bit. Those would be like the maximum. Okay, anything lower than that, you wouldn't be allowed. So it has to cover the area that you're doing masah over. طيب. Khuf should not be too loose, so they should be like socks and it should be sticking, right? Yeah, they say it should be something that you can walk in. And that's why some of them said socks don't count, because they said you don't naturally walk in socks and they'll rip. But others said no, as long as you're, culturally it's known that you walk with socks as well, then it should be fine. The material has to be pure and not najis. Like if you're wearing like pig skin, you cannot do masah over them, right? Or it's like stolen or something. Yeah, the khuf should be permissible, right? It's not stolen or bought with haram money, right? We talked about that, right? So those are the conditions for wiping. Like the amama, what do you wipe from it? What do you wipe from the amama? Right? You wipe whatever, the whole thing, right? The whole thing, you wipe it. Tamam. They say if you have some hair, you also wipe that if it's coming out. Same thing with the khimar for the woman. The khuf is done on the top and the foot is done on the top. So it's important, if you're wearing socks and you're in tahara, you don't wipe the bottom, right? You just wipe the top. You just wipe the top. Okay. Do I have to wipe with the right hand? Doesn't matter. You can wipe with both of them. You can wipe one hand on both. Whatever makes you happy, inshallah, all of it is fine. But for the cast, you have to wipe all of it. the cast, you have to wipe the whole cast. Because that's the part that has to have had water on it, right? Tamam? طيب, important question. What are things that require you to make wudu, again, without wiping? That's the wrong spelling. Whipping? Without wiping. طيب, it says if you wiped over the khuf and something was exposed, this is important, from the skin, okay, that is obligatory to wash, it will invalidate the wudu and wipe, and now you have to renew your wudu by washing. What does that mean? Yani you have your sock on, you made wudu, you wiped, and then like you removed it or something. You removed the sock, tamam, or like the half of it ripped or something like that. Then you have to remove that and renew your wudu. Same ruling when the time for wiping ends. And there's ikhtilaf in this one. It's a big mas'ala. Okay, if you're in wudu right now, okay, my day ends, in half an hour. I'm in wudu. The half an hour comes, khalas, my 1 day is over. I'm still in wudu. Does my wudu go away now? Or can I keep praying? Can I pray? What do you guys think? So this is a khilaf issue. The madhab says you have to do a new wudu now. So you have to remove the socks and you actually have to do a new wudu, because others, they said, no, it's fine. You can continue, but the next time you do wudu, you have to remove the socks and make wudu. Okay. And of course, if you have to do ghusl, then you can't do masih, obviously. If you have to do ghusl, and if someone was intimate or something happened or had a wet dream, then you have to do ghusl. The wudu invalidators will have to wait, inshallah. Yeah, there's a bunch of them. So we'll do that, inshallah, next time. Bidnillah. I think we have to do the adhan, inshallah. So we'll stop here, inshallah, and we'll continue this. Next week, inshallah, Brother Arif will come and he will talk about at-tahara, like internal purity, inshallah. And that will be next week, and then we'll continue the week after that with the invalidators of wudu, nawaqid al-wudu. Wa jazakumullah khair, wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. We're going to cover that in 2 weeks, inshallah.